Okay, let's take a quick look at the genetics of hemophilia. First off, hemophilia is an X-linked recessive trait. It would be carried on the X chromosome of that 23rd pair, and if we have the allele for hemophilia as opposed to the wild type, the normal one, we can indicate it by showing a little prime mark right here on the X chromosome. So if you notice, just a regular X is the wild type or most common form, which indicates no hemophilia. And then if we have the little prime mark, that means that this person has hemophilia, or is at least carrying the allele for hemophilia. Okay, if we look at a normal cross here between an XX, which would be a female, with an XY with a male, we can draw our Punnett square grid, just your tic-tac-toe board, shade in the upper left-hand corner, and then we'll add in our alleles that could be, or our gametes that could be made. Notice that here we have an X. The female can only offer up an X, and then over here we have the X and the Y for the male. Now, we could put a second X here, but that wouldn't change our percentages at all, so we don't have to do that at all. So if we carry those down and over, we get an XX, and then we get an XY. And if we look at our genotype, that's going to be 50% XX and 50% XY, the types of traits that we have. And then for our phenotype, the outward expression of those, notice that we're 50% female and 50% male. Check out this cross here. We have a carrier female right here, which is an X prime, so she is a carrier, but since it's a recessive trait, she doesn't actually show it. And then we have an unaffected male. So this is just a male that does not have hemophilia. Now, if they have children, what we do is we draw our Punnett square and draw our grid and bring down the gametes that they can make. So we bring the X prime here, and our X comes down here, our X, and our Y. When we do the cross, what we can see as we bring them over and down, we can get each of these possible offspring. If we look at the genotypes, notice that we get 25% our X prime with the X, 25% XX, 25% X prime Y, and 25% XY. As far as our phenotypes, the outward appearance of these individuals, we have 25% that are carrier females, 25% that are unaffected females, we have 25% that are hemophiliac males, and we have 25% that are unaffected males. So in this case, a cross with a carrier female and an unaffected male, they could have a hemophiliac male child. Let's take a look at this particular question. It says, in a sex-linked trait such as hemophilia, if a male with hemophilia has a child with a normal homozygous female, what is the chance that they have a son with hemophilia? All right, so let's look at what our cross is. We have an X prime Y, so that is a male with hemophilia. And then we're going to cross that with an unaffected female. Okay, so that's what the problem says. We just get that information from the problem. All right, so next, if we draw our Punnett square, draw our grid, and fill in our possible gametes, notice we have the X prime and the Y from the male with hemophilia. That's all the gametes, the kinds of gametes he can produce. We put our female there, but notice that we only have one type of gamete. She can only give an X, so we don't need to put anything down here in that extra one. That would just duplicate our efforts. Okay, if we go ahead and do the cross, you'll notice that our genotypes are 50% X prime X and 50% XY, and our phenotypes, we have a 50% carrier female and 50% unaffected male. Well, the question says, up here, says, what is the chance that they have a son with hemophilia? If we look at these down here, notice that we don't have any sons that have hemophilia. The only sons we have are just unaffected males. And if we look at that, we can go ahead and just give an answer to that. So the mating cannot produce a male with hemophilia. A male with hemophilia must get his X chromosome from his mother, since he can only get his Y chromosome from his father. So since he has to get his Y from his dad, he cannot get this father's allele for hemophilia. And so he must get his X, and this is an X-linked or sex-linked trait. And so since he has to get his X from his mom, she doesn't have hemophilia, and so he therefore cannot have it. All right, I hope that helps. Thanks.